Adam Bongiovanni back here with another Thursday video for you. Now today I'm interviewing our Book of the Month author for the beautiful month of May, Gary Robinson. He was the author of The Sword Swallower and the Chico Kid. I've been communicating with Gary for the last few weeks, and he put so much time and emotion into this book. I cannot wait to talk to him and hear what he has to say. How's it going, everyone? Adam Bongiovanni back here with another not a Thursday, a Saturday interview with our Book of the Month author of The Sword Swallower and the Chico Kid, Gary Robinson. Gary, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, looking forward to this, Adam. Thank you for having me.
No, of course, anytime. So let's jump right into things. Gary, so before we start, I think it's only right that you tell the masses out there what your book's about and maybe just give it a short little synopsis, or, you know, make it long. Go 15 minutes, whatever you got to do. Tell the world about your book.
Okay. Well, this book is I want to say firstly, it's full of adventure. Mm-hmm. It's full of purposeful language, and it was an absolute joy to work on, and it's based mostly on real events. The first part of the book, it's written in three parts. It starts with the third person of Duke Reynolds, the Sword Swallower, who his life is worthy of any storytelling. He ran away and joined the circus when he was 15. And then soon thereafter, he learned how to swallow swords, and this was in the 50s. And he developed a relationship with the traveling circus sideshow. Wow. And he was endeared with the freaks, you know, those that had the deformities, or, you know, the bearded lady, the torso man, and all of that. And he became intimately close to all of them. And I discussed that relationship. You know, a lot of times Hollywood views the circus sideshow as ones that were being persecuted, but it was far from true. They loved each other and they loved their work. And I go on to the adventures of them traveling with the circus, and then there's a brief. He's not in the circus, and he's got a road trip with some spider monkeys, and then he's hovering on a helicopter in a straitjacket and nearly bashes his head doing that, and then. He has a little bit of a run-in with the law, and I had some fun with that. And while he was in prison, he performed at the mayor's inaugural ball, and I had some fun with that as well. And then he had a serious accident, and it made him have to semi-retire, if you will. He couldn't swallow the swords, but he still did a lot of the marvel acts. And from there, I introduced the Chico Kid, and he goes through his adolescent phase of, you know, how the college life can be. I go through some of the adventures there and how he ends up in a town called Chico, California, and it discusses the one decision after another that he was making and how his life was spiraling to the point where he was down to his last few bucks, and he's in a bar, and here's this very old man talking about the circus and perform a small little bar, and he punches a big nail through his nostril, and naturally that gets the Chico Kid's attention. Yeah. And he follows him outside, and they forge a friendship, and they go on one last adventure, and the Sword Swallower knew the Chico Kid was in trouble, you know, and he tried to save his life. Even though it's best efforts, the Chico Kid nearly takes his life, but that's the premise of the story, and I tried to fill it full of a lot of purposeful language about all sorts of things that are involved in relationships and family and religion, politics. I kind of touch on all of it in this book, and I found it to be a very joyful experience.
Wow, so it seems so emotional, and it seems like there's a lot of ups and a lot of downs, and I feel like any good book, you really need to kind of feel what the author is saying, and just hearing you talk about it, I feel like it's such an emotional roller coaster, and I'm really excited to read it. So now the Chico Kid in the story is by no coincidence, his name is Gary Robinson, which somehow happens to be your name as well. So and I actually asked this to Gary last night in an email. I'm like, is it real? are you the chick? I was trying to figure it out. So how real is that? I know you said it's like loosely based on, it's a lot of fact, but there's also, you said you embellished a little bit with certain things. So is the character Gary Robinson, how similar is he to the author Gary Robinson?
Well, I didn't eat dinosaur, which kind of happens in the story, that's for sure.
You know what, Gary? I was gonna like hope that you said you did eat dinosaur, but you know what? It happens to the best of us.
But you know, most of it's the truth, and the problem I had younger is I didn't have a sense of a purposeful life, and I was making a lot of bad decisions. Just the one time, and I described it in the book, I worked with developmental adults, and we have a little adventure together there, and that was a real joy. But you know, they were paying me $5 an hour. That was a real tough go. And anyhow, when that didn't work out, meeting Duke was the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't feel like it was a coincidence. I mean, he was a man he led a purposeful experience in life, and he had all this information to share with me, and he came at the right time, fortunately.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so tell me a little bit about Duke and the character, but also the person he was.
Well, you know, just to run away from your home at 15 and to join the circus, which sounds almost like a cliche, but it would actually happen, is a very, very courageous move. And he was a very courageous man, and he was intrigued with the different folks in life. You know, he followed his own way, and instead of accepting the truth, he discovered it on his own, and he had such a unique view on life. And some of the most important things that he would tell me about was, you know, don't waste today. You're not promised tomorrow. You know, live fully today. It's important.
Wow.
There are no promises. And then, you know, he had a huge library. And this is a guy that never even finished high school, and he was very articulate and very well versed in all sorts of subjects. So naturally, I was drawn to him, and he gave as much as he could as far as his wealth of experience. And to this day, I still gravitate towards it.
That's phenomenal. And so when you say like tomorrow's not promised, how much did that mantra and living by what kind of Duke taught you? How much did that really carry over into writing this book and putting this story out into the world?
Well, the way I felt was every sentence that you write, and obviously my abilities it's a subjective view, but every sentence that I write, every dialogue, I didn't want to waste a sentence. I didn't want to waste a word. It was important for me to entertain, because that's why people read books in the first place. But I also wanted to make sure it had a sense of purpose. So you didn't walk away from, oh, that was an entertaining book. I wanted you to get something from this book. Because that's why I talked about a wide array of subjects, and I just kind of sprinkled them in, you know? So it didn't take away from the story. It wasn't distracting. So.
Wow, no, that's unbelievable. So now for you as a writer, when did you realize in life that, you know what, I want to write? Because I've talked to authors that realize when they're 65. I've talked to authors that realize when they're 6. So when did you really find this passion and love for writing or storytelling?
Well, when I lacked a sense of purpose, and I was in school, college, I started to write. You know, I was starting to write my thoughts about everything, from family to culture, and I would fill notebooks. I had this addiction, so I never could really finish anything, you know. So it was just a matter of every morning I'd wake up at 5 a.m. or so, and I'd go down to the local coffee shop, and when no one was in there, and I would just fill the pages before, you know, I had to go earn a living. So,
wow.
And that's when I knew it made me happy, and it was a soulful experience for me, and I knew this was something that I wanted to do.
Wow. So this isn't just like putting something out there. This is like such a meaningful process to you. So throughout this process of writing this book, like how long did it take to finish The Sword Swallower and a Chico Kid?
I did 7 versions.
Wow.
The thing, you know, when you're writing, you have to remember the texture of the scene, you know, the non-verbal expressions, if you will. You know, don't forget that. You know, the shrugging shoulders, the smiles, the winks, the tones. You want to make sure you put the whole vision in the page. And so, as I was writing the first of the book, I realized once I finished, I went, I was a little bit fast on the beginning part, you know, and so I had to rewrite that. And then you take it to editors, and they look at your work, and they give you their advisement, and you struggle sometimes with, is this going to take away from your message, or is this my voice, or is this my editor's voice? You know, you go back and forth with that, and it took a while. It took 3 years.
Oh wow, so that's a bit, I think it's safe to say that you really did everything you could for this book. It's not like you said, you know what, I want it out there within 4 months. Like, you put your all into this book. And I'm sure I've seen the reviews, when people say such nice things and how this book is such an emotional experience and everything like that, I'm sure that's an unbelievable feeling of gratitude and satisfaction when people come to you and tell you how much they love their book. How is that for you?
Sorry, I cry sometimes.
Hey, Gary, the joy is seeping through the screen. I not that I appreciate you crying, but I appreciate the emotion.
It brings a lot of joy, because to me, the writing is the sense of purpose that I want, you know, in life. And obviously, I'm not quite there yet, where I can just do this only writing, because that's really my joy, would be just to write. I would write all day, every day, but as it is now, I write in the evening, and you know, it just takes a little longer. But to hear that I'm reaching people means everything to me.
Wow. I'm so happy to hear that, because I feel like it's easy to get lost in everything, especially with successful writers and people who really do get feedback. Because of course there's millions of people who put out books and nobody ever reads them. So I feel like to appreciate that just shows the type of person you are and what you've all really put into this book. And I appreciate that as a reader, someone who doesn't write. So I thank you for all the emotion you're putting into your project and getting this story out to the world. So, Gary, do we got any books in the works? What's next for you?
Yeah, I got a great story in the works. I just love it. I don't want to give up too much.
Don't worry about it.
But it's about a young man that when he finally leaves his house, he goes on his family home. He goes on an adventure, and it's one learning experience after another. It won't be as the first book was a little more raw, because it was based on some bad decisions that I was making. This one will be a little bit different view, but it'll discuss a lot of again more about the purposeful life and the things that challenge us on the way.
Fantastic. I look forward to it. I'm sure everyone who watches this will look forward to it as well. Gary, where can they find you? Do you have social media? Is it just a website? Like, where can people find you?
You can reach me at Twitter at Groven Books.
Okay.
Or you could go to my Facebook page, Groven Books.
Perfect.
And I do have a website, grovenbooks.com.
Perfect.
And you can email me there. And the best thing I always love is when I hear someone say, I read your book and I want to talk about it. So please, anybody that wants to discuss it with me, I'm absolutely available for that. I'll answer every email.
Gary, you're an inspiration, and it was amazing to talk to you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you putting everything into this book and into this interview. And next book, when it comes out, we'd love to have you on again.
I love it. Thank you, Adam.
No problem at all.
It's a really great experience. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Enjoy it, Gary. Thank you so much. Take care. Talking to Gary there and feeling the emotion and the heart he put into this book, but also this interview. It just makes me realize how if you put everything into something, leave it all out there, you'll regret nothing. Honestly, talking to Gary today is gonna make my day and my weekend a little brighter, because I feel like I'm starting to get to the point as an interviewer where I'm just talking to the person and I'm not putting on a show anymore. I think Gary really helped me with that during this interview. I felt like I was just talking to this person who had so much emotion and so much love and so much heart to give. This book, as you can tell based on the person Gary is, this book is filled with so much realism, because it's the real story of Gary and the man he met that truly changed his life. Like he said, there's little embellishment, but it's a story that I think anyone who might be going through a tough time or has been through a tough time should read. The Sword Swallower and the Chico Kid is available right now. Link is in the description. Hope you enjoyed that video. I will see you next time. Thank you guys so much.